Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.
Todd
and Levitt. Todd and Levitt.
Todd and Craig, good to hear you guys.
Todd and Levitt.
This is Attorney Todd L. Levitt.
Honestly, you could not be any more spot on.
Now, from the Black Diamond Group mothership in the studios of 98.5 UPS, the Todd L. Levitt Law Show.
Welcome to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Good morning, good evening, and good night. I'm yours truly, Attorney Todd L. Levitt, broadcasting and podcasting in the middle of Mitten in the Black Diamond Group mothership in a beautiful green nutrient field with my good friend Craig Russell, the muscle, the hustle. He is the dankiest, gassiest human I know. Don't call me Mando, and he is no longer on tour with Taylor Swift. He is currently traversing the country with Jen and I in a Class C camper we got from Camping World here in Houghton Lake, Michigan. My good friend Burnsy, Greeny, everybody, Roy Tyson, everybody at Camping World. We love you guys up there. But we're staying at all the Walmarts across the country. Craig, how are you enjoying your time in the camper with us, traversing the Walmarts or across the country?
I'm not going to lie. I need to go into a Walmart and get some odor eaters. I'm just saying.
Get some odor eaters.
Nice. It's a little dank in the camper. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's a little dank in a camper. Last week, we brought up the fact that, for those who are just tuning in for the first time and the last time, obviously, once they hear this show, that you can camp at Walmart if you're traveling across the country, right, Craig?
That's exactly true. There's over 3,000 Walmarts. If you are camping, so when you pull into a Walmart, sometimes you'll see semi-trucks parked there, and you'll see campers and stuff. You're allowed to camp there for free because they assume you're going to walk into the store and probably buy something or get some food or something. So they allow you to camp there. It works out pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I am an attorney Todd L. Levitt, and yes, we are a law show, and we're going to actually be talking about some law today. We have a huge show, strain of the week, law. We have all kinds of great issues to discuss. Sam Gross, good friend of ours, Sam Gross, will be coming on the show. He said, Todd, I love the fact that you and Craigie Poo, he called you Craigie Poo, are back in the mothership, but you didn't talk about anything. I said, Craig and I, the show's about nothing, Sam. You should know that by now. But look, we opened up the show today, folks, with, if you like that song is from a group called Horizon Theory. And the name of the tune is Past Life. Horizon Theory. Check them out on YouTube, social media. Please follow them, like it. Horizon Theory is comprised of a very dear and close family friend of mine, Chris Grandy, right here from Central Michigan, Craig. Literally, Chris lives here in Central Michigan. Luis Got Josh and Jeff drumming, singing. So we're going to be playing Horizon Theory throughout the show, and we are going to be broadcasting their new release coming up in a couple weeks. So I just love their sound.
Great sound. Yeah, we were talking about how they sound a little like a Papa Roach, kind of one of those kind of bands.
Atreyu, Linkin Park, but they're so unique. But they're so unique to their own style, and they're making it. They are their own genre in my mind. I mean, they do sound like, you could listen to any type of music and say, hey, this group sounds like this or that or the other thing, but these guys are insane. They're right here from Central Michigan, and hopefully they're going to be playing a concert sponsored by M66 Cannabis Company in Bearton, Michigan come springtime. So we're hoping to have some kind of concert in Bearton with Horizon Theory sponsored by M66 Cannabis Company.
And also, not only that, but it fits the music that we play on the show, because we play a lot of stuff like that. So it's just right there. Maybe they could even compose us a theme song.
I did ask that. I did request that. But hey, coming up in the show, Craig, we are going to be talking about a couple different issues. The one is if an individual is passed out in a motor vehicle, okay, and law enforcement comes upon that individual, law enforcement then transports that individual to the hospital. A blood draw is taken to determine if they have any alcohol or controlled substance, which rises to the level of impairment in whichever state this occurs. If that person is not conscious and does not consent to the blood search and there's no warrant obtained, does that hold muster with the United States Supreme Court? So the question is, someone's unconscious, law enforcement comes upon the individual, they're transported to the hospital, the blood is drawn. What are the Fourth Amendment issues, and what does the United States Supreme Court say about that? We're going to be talking about that, Craig. Also, the strain of the week is coming up, and a few other legal issues. But I have a complaint. I got to start off the show with a complaint.
Okay, complain away.
And the complaint is not you.
Oh, thank God.
I'm calling out myself on this complaint.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, this is about me. We were at breakfast last week, and the lovely Jen. I don't know why this is. Tell me if this is your situation.
Okay.
Why is it when I'm with someone, especially the significant other, her food always looks and tastes better than mine, no matter what restaurant we're at? I mean, come on. Am I right about this?
You're not wrong. You are not wrong. That jealousy factor comes in all the time.
So I try not to, as a man, whichever woman you are with, the odds are, I mean, in most cases, the woman is not going to finish her food, so you're just gawking over her plate saying, okay, when can I finish that burger? When can I have a taste of that? But in this case, she just began her meal, and she had some kind of cinnamon toast, and she said, here, you want a taste? So she'd offered it to me.
Oh, okay.
So I grabbed the toast, and what do you think I did, Craig? Why am I I took too large of a bite, and it made me think about my days back at CMU back in the 80s in a fraternity. When I'd go out and get some food late night or whatever time, one of my fraternity brothers would say, "Nah, I don't want anything." And are you sure? I'm going to Taco Bell. I'm going to Burger King, McDonald's. Are you sure you don't want anything? Because when I come back, you're not having any of my food. That's another complaint. Because whenever you come back with food, or I would come back for food, everybody would want to stick their hand in my bag. And I had a policy about that, Craig. Look, I'm going to the store. I'm willing to buy you your own large fries, guys. And this went out to Eddie Walker and Pat Lamb, especially. Okay? My two lovely roommates there, Sig Ups. But in any event, I deviate. The point is, how many of your friends would you allow them to take a bite or a drink of something, and it was just way too much?
Well, I wouldn't let them take... friends, I wouldn't let take a bite or a drink. Significant other, they can eat all they want, because it's all going to work out itself in the end. But friends,
come on. When you were in college, you didn't... Come on. You're sure... you're having a few brewskis. Animal House reruns are on in the 80s. Or the movie Airplane. You're listening to MTV blaring out the window or dorm room, and you're not chowing and sharing food with your brothers or roommates. You didn't do that?
Well, my roommates, my two roommates, we each had our own shelf in the cupboard and our own shelf in the fridge, and if anything came up missing, it was a federal offense. So you didn't do that. Not with these guys. These guys, no, they were possessive about their food, but... Roommates
always, that's another thing. When you live with roommates, you got to have the discussion up front. Look, This is my shelf. This is my cabinet. This is my spot in the refrigerator. Keep your paws off it. Don't be gulping. Don't be because a lot of my fraternity brothers they dipped with a spittoon.
Yep.
And I dipped a few times back in the day, and it made me dizzy. I don't know why. Yeah, it made me dizzy. A few times, but then you always had the fraternity brother who, at 3 o'clock in the morning, he was so intoxicated, not driving, keeping people safe, but you're in the party room, the whole thing smells like stale beer and alcohol, and he's so intoxicated, he picks up the cup with chew spit in it, and and I'm not trying to be disgusting, folks, but that does happen at college. So if you have students in college and they're in a fraternity or not, and then they're 21 and over and they're enjoying themselves as they should in a safe manner, tell them to be aware of empty cups. There's always that one guy at any party who was so intoxicated, he or she, usually it's a guy, would go around and just drink other people's Dixie cups. But little did they know, half the guys in my fraternity dipped and chewed and spit. Yep. Copenhagen and all those minty flavors. Skol. I remember that. And then I would dip with the little packs. Stick the little pack under.
Little pouches things?
Little pouches, yeah. That's when I dipped a few times.
I'm going to tell you this much. If you've got, if you've got a child in college and you're a parent right now, you don't want to know what's going on. Just ignorance is bliss in this situation. Just let them do their thing. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, exactly. I'm an attorney in a college town, so every year I do represent individuals who go off to school for the first time and unfortunately get caught drinking and driving. But hey, Craig, we are a law show. We got a huge show. We're going to be talking about the Supreme Court of the United States and whether or not they allow an officer to take an unconscious individual to the hospital for a blood draw, and during that blood draw, without consent, can that BAC, blood alcohol content, be used against that individual in a case by the prosecutor seeking a conviction for some type of drinking or drugging activity? And also, I want to announce that if you go on YouTube, folks, and just Google the Todd L. Levitt Law Show on YouTube, please subscribe. Craig and I are sloppily, is that even a word, Craig, attempting to put up video content. We just put up a Zoom of ourselves here recording this show. So we'll get better at it. We're not Steve Lato yet, but we'll get better at it, right, Craig?
Well, nobody's Steve Lato. Come on now.
Hey, we're going to get there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, how you enjoying that lemon cherry gelato, by the way?
That's fantastic.
Isn't that, wait, what do you say? It's flippin' fantastic.
Flippin' fantastic.
So I know we got to go to break, but my complaint is myself for completely engulfing Jen's cinnamon toast and all my fraternity brothers in college. This goes out to you, Eddie, Pat Lamb, Eddie Walker. I love you guys. Who, when I came back from Taco Bell or came home back to the room, fraternity room, and they didn't want anything. I said, look, I'm going to go buy you guys. You want anything? Nobody want anything. And then they consumed half of my tacos.
Exactly.
But Eddie was bigger and stronger. You had to let Eddie do that.
I will have a complaint as well, and it's also about food and fast food, but we'll do that after the break. We'll take a break on the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show, coming back strong, just turning it and burning it and destroying my noggin. Horizon Theory, the name of that tune, folks, is Past Life. And that's a local group here, Craig. Founded, one of the founders is Chris Grandy, comes from a great family here in mid-Michigan. For those who know who Chris is and his family, I mean, they've given so much back to the local community, employed hundreds and hundreds of individuals, just a great family. That's his group. That's Chris. If you look at their videos, Chris, Luis, Josh, and Jeff, what a tunage, man. And I'm so honored that we have permission to play that song for the listeners.
I'll tell you this much. I've been doing, I've been in the music and radio business for almost 35 years now, and you can usually tell who's going to make it and who's not, and those guys are going to make it. That's a pretty good song. They got a good sound to them, and they should be proud, and they're going to be big if they're not already big. I mean, they've got hundreds of thousands of views. Millions of views on YouTube. So check out Horizon Theory. They've already been in a few festivals out east and down south and out west, and hopefully in the springtime, folks, for those of you listening in mid-Michigan or anywhere, I can tell you this, that M66 Cannabis Company, which will be opening up right there in Bearton in October, 100%, I'm told by a Grant G Money, is already aboard and sponsoring a big concert with Horizon Theory. So now we put them on the spot. But hey, Craig, let's get to the strain of the week, by the way, brought to you by M66 Cannabis Company, soon opening in Bearton, Michigan. Lemon Cherry Gelato, and my cousin AZ, that's his favorite strain right there. AZ, big shout out to AZ. Lemon Cherry Gelato coming in at a whopping 25% THC. Craig, who do you think the parents of Lemon Cherry Gelato are? Probably Lemon Kush and Cherry Kush? No, I have no idea.
No, but some more good strains there. No, it's a hybrid strain. It's the genetics and the parents of Sunset Sherbet,
Okay.
and Girl Scout Cookies.
Oh, okay.
Two standalone terrific strains. But a lot of people find that enjoying Lemon Cherry Gelato with pain, stress, anxiety, it's got a lime, citrus, berry flavor, aroma to it. So Space Run's another great strain. But we're talking about Lemon Cherry Gelato today, and that one goes out to AZ.
Right on. Great strain of the week brought to you by the good guys at M66 Cannabis in Barrington.
Yeah. So, Craig, I know you have a complaint, but I want to get to some law here if we can briefly.
Let's.
So if an individual is, let's take the state of Michigan and most of the country, most of the states, if an individual is stopped or they're on the side of the road or somebody calls in a health check and they're out and an individual is inside a motor vehicle. But in this case, let's say an individual operated a motor vehicle on a public roadway.
Okay.
Or a parking lot, in the case of Michigan, accessible to a public roadway. And that individual is passed out. And the officer arrives on the scene, and it's in the public's best interest. The courts have opined that the officer can knock on the window and even open the door, to make sure that person is okay. They have a right to do that.
Sure.
Okay. So if someone's passed out in the front seat, the officer doesn't have a warrant. But those are exigent circumstances that allow an officer to open the door, provide some type of medical treatment, get EMS out there. Big shout out to all the EMS providers out there, first responders. We just had 9/11, and all love and respect go out to all the veterans and everybody who perished, all the firefighters and everybody who served our country afterwards and is still doing so and has in the past, and their families. But in this case, first responders arrive on the scene. They provide medical attention. The individual is still passed out, Craig.
Okay.
Sobriety test cannot be preformed. There's a smell of alcohol coming from the vehicle, or there's not a smell of alcohol coming from the vehicle. The individual is then transported to a hospital. A blood draw is extracted. The blood comes back, in the case of the state of Michigan, above a 0.08, which is a legal limit if you're 21 and over.
Okay.
Now the question is, recall, the individual did not consent to have the blood draw extracted. Okay?
Right.
So the blood comes back above a .08. That information is passed on to the local prosecutor. A warrant is issued for operating while intoxicated, 6.0 to 93 day misdemeanor in the state of Michigan.
All right.
The individual later on, when the individual is sober and conscious, hires a lawyer and is not happy with the fact that they didn't consent to have their blood drawn or taken. There was no warrant that was obtained in order to obtain the blood draw, and the prosecutor used those results in order to bring forward charges, Craig, for operating while intoxicated.
Okay.
So my question to you is, under those facts, do you think the United States Supreme Court allows the blood, the which came back, the blood serum above a .08, to be utilized by the prosecutor to push forth a conviction against this individual?
I would say no, for the simple fact that he didn't give any consent, and we've talked about the Fourth Amendment many times on this show, that would fall under that. But I have a different question that I want to ask, but tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Well, here's, again, think about the facts of the case.
Okay.
There's a health check. An individual is passed out behind the wheel of a motor vehicle.
Okay.
And in order, and law enforcement is doing the right thing. That individual is not waking up. The person's unconscious. And they're taken to the hospital for medical attention. The hospital is drawing the blood. It's not necessarily at the request of the officer, but the hospital is taking blood to find out if that individual has food poisoning, alcohol poisoning, too intoxicated, maybe a combination of certain illegal drugs. So the question is, can a blood be used? Look, your blood and your everything that has to do with your DNA, you have Fourth Amendment rights against illegal search and seizure.
Exactly.
But the United States Supreme Court, in a Wisconsin case that came out of Wisconsin, our United States Supreme Court said that under those circumstances, which are exigent circumstances, it's in the public's best interest that law enforcement be allowed to utilize those results, even though the individual did not consent to the blood draw, and there was no warrant that was obtained to search the blood alcohol content of that individual's blood. So under those circumstances, yes, the blood alcohol content can be utilized by a prosecutor for prosecutorial purposes, folks. Under those circumstances, a warrantless search of the person's blood, and there was no consent given.
See, I can see where you were saying the hospital was the one that draws the blood for the fact that they might need to perform some kind of service to keep this person alive. I can see that, but not necessarily because you think that they're driving under the influence. Because here's my question. If a car is in a parking lot, let's say this car's in the parking lot, okay, and a police pulls up to it and there's somebody passed out in the front seat because there's a smell of alcohol or whatever. The police don't know if that car drove there. What if that guy just walked into that car and sat down, never drove a second? How could they be charged with operating the vehicle without the police knowing that they drove the car there?
So you bring up a great point, the definition of operating. In order to be convicted in almost all states of operating while intoxicated, or depends on what that state's motor vehicle code considers operating while intoxicated, visibly impaired. There's under 21 with a blood alcohol content in the state of Michigan and other states. So if you have to look at the facts of the case. You're correct, Craig. How does law enforcement know whether or not the individual was dropped off to that vehicle and fell asleep in that vehicle and never actually operated a motor vehicle with any level of blood alcohol in them?
Exactly.
Well, it comes down to when the person is awoken or wakes up, what their statements are during the interrogation, you see? And then you have to ask yourself, then Miranda comes into play. Is it a custodial interrogation? Is it just an investigatory questions that are taking place? Because when an officer first approaches an individual, the Miranda rights do not have to be presented to that individual if it's just an investigation and they're asking questions. Sure. The question is, at what point are you in custody? I would argue, as soon as an officer approaches an individual, how many of you out there think if that individual said, "Officer, I don't have time to talk right now, I'm out of here"? If you take off under those circumstances, you're going to be charged with a lot of different felonies: fleeing and eluding an automobile, resisting and obstructing a police officer. But when an officer first approaches you, you're not in custody at that point. But if you take off and you get arrested, well, was I not in custody? You see, there's so much inconsistencies in these issues. Well, as a defense attorney, because I'm a defense attorney, it drives me nuts, folks, because your constitutional rights as they exist in an automobile have been destroyed. I mean, they're non-existent. So to get back to your question, Craig, yes, if an individual is passed out in a motor vehicle, how does an officer prove, or the prosecutor prove, that individual operated while intoxicated? Well, it's based on a number of factors. Is there a video in a parking lot? Sure. The tape can be pulled to show the individual driving that vehicle. Are there enough factors there, observations? Once the individual wakes up, if he or she makes a statement that they drank and drove there, if there's no sober person around, how else did that person drive a car there that they had dominion and control over? The other issue is, how does the officer not know whether or not the individual drank? Let's say you drove a vehicle to a parking lot, Craig. Okay. You got out, sat on the curb, drank, passed out in the seat. Keys are not in the engine. That's not drinking and driving.
No, not at all.
That doesn't meet the definition of operating a motor vehicle on a public roadway.
And also, to bring up your point about Miranda and stuff, if a person is passed out in the front seat and the police officer takes them to the hospital and they get a blood draw, that person could just get up and walk out of the hospital. They're not under arrest at that point because there's no way they can give them Miranda if they're passed out.
Well, wait a minute. Let's back up on Miranda. Most people who are arrested for operating while intoxicated are not Mirandized. I get that question all the time. Hey, I wasn't read my Miranda rights. Well, look, if you have a college student, a professor, or just an individual who gets pulled over for drinking and driving, a trained officer, under most circumstances, can make a good determination whether or not there's any other criminal activity afoot that officer needs to read that individual their Miranda rights. You see, once that individual is placed in custody, let's say you're in the back of a police officer's vehicle, Craig, okay, and you were arrested for drinking and driving. You were not read your Miranda rights. It's not required at this point. But on the way to the hospital or sheriff's department to take a BAC, blood alcohol content, to a data master, you say, by the way, officer, I've got some stolen goods in a locker over here at this address. And the officer takes that information, passes it on to the prosecutor or magistrate. A warrant is issued. They search the storage unit. They see all the stolen goods, and now you're charged with receiving and concealing stolen property. Well, wait a minute. A good lawyer, a great lawyer, would know how to file a motion to suppress that statement due to the fact that once you were in custody, you were never told you have a right to remain silent. Therefore, anything you say cannot be used against you. So all that information has to be suppressed, and charges should all be thrown out.
Well, and you know what? And I can tell you one thing.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that was like one breath.
I'll tell you one thing. If that person had ever listened to this show, they would know not to say those kind of things to an officer, because that's giving up way too much information. Hey, officer, I've got some stolen goods in this locker. You should never do that. If you listen to this show, that's like Todd Levitt 101. Don't say more than you need to. Be respectful, but don't give up information until you absolutely have to. Intoxication,
unfortunately, is not an affirmative defense to a number of different issues involved in being placed under arrest.
Well,
you see, because at one point,
also a truth serum too.
Well, at one point you were sober and you made a determination to consume that alcohol, knowing if you did so that you may be intoxicated. I mean, we all know ourselves, but again, that's how Miranda operates. But to answer your question, Craig, I've had cases over the years where, an individual put the vehicle in a ditch, was close to home, walked home. Once they were at home, an officer, reads the plate, finds out where they live, shows up within a reasonable amount of time. And my client, hey, I drank when I got home, officer. You can't prove that I was drinking and driving. Yep. You see? I mean, I drank when I got home.
Exactly. Don't do their jobs.
I'm giving away the tools of the trade here as a defense attorney. Hey, Craig, we have a YouTube channel, by the way.
Yes, we do. Yes,
Check out our mugs on YouTube, folks. They're some really weak, short clips, just go on YouTube and subscribe to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Craig and I put up a clip of us zooming. Actually, I haven't done it yet. I hope I'm saying it on the air. I got to go do it after the show.
And you can see Todd with his sunglasses, which is awesome too. Hey, we got to take a break. We got to take a break.
Come on, Craig. What do you mean take a break?
We got more law to get to.
Will you play Horizon Theory when we come back?
Of course.
Are we going camping at Walmart, by the way, tonight?
Not tonight.
Okay. I'll be there without you. Welcome back to the Todd L. Levitt Law Show. We're back. Yeah.
It's Craig, and we're turning it and burning it with Horizon Theory out of Central and Michigan. Past Life. Chris Grandy is the guy who's the head of that band. They got a great sound. So we're glad to be able to expose them to people all over the world. Because not only can you hear this on 98.5 UPS in Central and Northern Michigan, but the podcast version is consumed in over 100 countries all across the world, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that we have this type of music that is now coming out. We need it. We need it. We do need it. I mean, I love Metallica. Don't get me wrong. I love rock. Period. But it's so refreshing to know that there's groups like Horizon Theory. My good buddy Chris Grandy, Louis. You can call him Louis. I have a buddy of mine, Louis, so I call him Louis. But Louis, Josh, and Jeff, they're putting out that kind of music. Not just the lyrics, but the sound, the writing, the instruments, how they arrange it. It's just, I can't wait to see them in concert, truly.
Yeah, it'll be great. Great
yeah.
show.
Hey, we're a law show, though, Craig, but we're talking music here. And you had a complaint, and I totally just went right over it. What's your complaint?
That's okay. My complaint is I have a conundrum. Okay.
Can you define a conundrum?
Can I define a conundrum? I can define it. The definition of a conundrum is something bad happens, yet something good happens, and I can't decide what to either be upset or be happy about it.
Okay.
There you go. So going through the drive-thru, usually when I go to a restaurant or go through a drive-thru, I will order my hamburger plain, usually with just cheese on it. When I'm driving and I'm eating a cheeseburger or something, if it's got ketchup and mustard and pickle on it,
it's all over.
All over me.
All over you.
I get it plain because I don't like slobbing food.
I get that, Craig.
Okay.
Can I have a bite of that, by the way? If you're chowing on a burger, can I have a bite?
No.
And truth be told, Craig, I love you, bro. You're my brother, but you know what? At my age, I'm almost 60. I don't feel like sharing food with like any of my buddies. I did that in college, but that's not happening at 58.
No, not at all. So when I go and order, I had this happen a couple of days ago. I was at a fast food place. I won't say any names, but...
How's your cholesterol, by the way, Craig?
Cholesterol's fantastic.
You eat a lot of fast food there, buddy. You need a Lipitor.
Really my cholesterol.
You need it. Let's have a talk. I need to give you some cranberry juice.
My cholesterol is good every time I get it checked.
All right, if you say so.
So I ordered a quarter pounder with cheese. That might tell you where I was at, and a large fry. And I ordered the quarter pounder with just cheese on it. So I'm sitting there waiting. They had a special order, and I'm fine with that because that means it's going to be fresh and it's the way I want it. I'm sitting there waiting for them to bring it out to me. I had to pull up to the extra slot for them to wait to bring it out. They brought it out, and it took them a while. And the guy goes, hey, I didn't like the fries that they had, so I had to make you new fries. Here's new fries and your burger. And I said, okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. So I open it up, and there's 2 fries. They gave me 2 orders of fries.
What's wrong with that? That's terrific.
Nothing's wrong with that. But then I opened up the hamburger, and it had everything on it. Ketchup, mustard, pickle.
Oh, yeah, it's not good.
And I had to scrape it all off. And I was getting ready to drive, and it's a pain. And I'm like...
Yeah, that's a pain.
But what am I mad that they screwed up that part of it, but am I happy that they gave me 2 fries instead of 1? It's a conundrum. I can't decide whether I should be happy or upset about it.
I would be happy.
Yeah,
because look, you still like ketchup and mustard. Even the worst, you're just not happy. You don't want to consume that when you're operating a vehicle.
Yeah.
It might drip on your shirt, and when you get ketchup and mustard, it could stain forever, and then there goes the garment, right?
Well, and I had to scrape it off, but luckily I had 2 orders of French fries, so one of them I poured into the bag and used the fry container to scrape off the onions and the pickles and the ketchup and everything. So I mostly got it all off. But I hate having to do that before while I'm driving to have to try and do that. But
I was at a establishment last week. I'm not going to name the establishment because the management, they're friends of mine, and I like going there to consume food products. But the young lady, college student, just back probably from summer break, had a pair of plastic gloves on, folks, and she's taking my money and putting it back in a register with her plastic gloves. She turned around and she was about to grab certain items, and I said, I saw her name tag, so I called out her name, and I said, so-and-so, can you please just change your gloves for me? And it's not her fault. I don't want to get her in trouble. I'm not going to name the establishment because I love going there, but just something like that, maybe that would not have bothered me. When I was younger and I worked at pizza and sub shops, we didn't use gloves.
No.
I mean, looking back on it, oh boy. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. But hey, Craig.
Amazing we didn't die back then.
Yeah, I know. Listen. Hey, I want to give a big shout out to my cousin Anthony, young AZ. He's only 4 years of age.
All right.
And he's already playing organized hockey.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
I love you, Anthony. I love you, Jack. I love you, Teresa. I'm so proud of all of you. Jack's my godson. And Jack's not old enough yet to play hockey, but Anthony's 4 years of age.
I remember when Anthony was born. He's grown.
Yeah, he's on a junior hockey team. Teresa's having a baptism next week. We got to go to the baptism. I can't wait. So does G Money's daughter. She's having a baptism too. Same time. But hey, Craig, I got more law for the listeners.
Okay.
We're gonna stick with last week we were talking about, by the way, the DHS, Department of Human Health and Services, recommending the DEA to reschedule marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Okay. Got a lot of feedback on that. People want to know when will it happen, if it happens, and I have no idea. So that's my answer to that. I have no idea. Nope. You never know with anything that has to do with the government. You never know, but I hope it happens soon. But we're talking, folks, and if you just tuned in, about some drinking and driving issues, and the United States Supreme Court has opined that an officer does not need a warrant under exigent circumstances. That's the language they used to extract an individual's blood if they're passed out in a vehicle, they're taken to the hospital, because it's for the public's best interest that an individual be transported to a hospital in the first place.
Sure.
So that's important. Something else I learned, here's another law I learned last week. So unfortunately, all of us have lost animals. Jen and I, we've definitely been through it. It's a hard thing to go through and live with when you lose an animal that is your family, your loved one. But when we had to put down one of our children, our beloved animal, we had some narcotics left over from the veterinarian, some narcotics.
Okay.
Because a vet can prescribe tramadol and other pain medicine that humans take for animals. You know that, right?
Sure.
So here, the law is, if you're an individual out there, you cannot take those narcotics that have been assigned to you for your pet from a pharmacy and deliver them back to a veterinarian. Okay?
Really?
No, it's distribution. It's distribution of narcotics, a controlled substance. Sure. You cannot take any prescribed narcotic medication and hand it or give it to somebody else, if it's your script, that's illegal distribution. Back in the day when marijuana laws were just coming to fruition, officers would confiscate an individual's medical marijuana, and they would not return it to that individual after they pulled them over along the roadside and determined they were card holders, because officers were told that if they do so, it's illegal. It's distribution because they're not card holders. I mean, maybe they were, but that medicine belonged to somebody else. I personally don't consider marijuana a narcotic, so I thought it was wrong at that time. I mean, officers would pull in, and I support and love law enforcement. I have a lot of friends out there that are troopers and sheriffs, deputies and city officers and tribal officers and CMU police officers. Big shout out to Scott Malloy, and everybody out there at CMU police. We got a lot of friends out there.
Well, I got a question. What about now? What about in states where marijuana is recreational? Could a police officer, if something happens, could they give it back now?
I don't see it happening.
Huh.
If an officer comes upon a motor vehicle and somebody has they determine that someone's a medical marijuana card holder and the marijuana stays in the vehicle, the officer never possesses it. Therefore, the officer never returns it, so that delivery never takes place, you see?
Okay.
So, again, it's state to state, but the federal government, because it's illegal federally, even though we're talking state law, there's so many conflicts in the laws. That's why we need it removed from Schedule 1, Craig.
Agreed.
But back to the animal pharmaceuticals, if you lose a beloved animal and you have some leftover narcotics, you cannot take it back to that vet. They will not accept it.
What do you do?
It's distribution.
Is there a place to dispose of it?
Yeah, you just either call the local pharmacy that prescribed it to you, or call the local sheriffs or law enforcement and ask them what's the best way to dispose of it. Flush it? Yeah, but you can always flush it down the toilet.
Sure.
You can dispose of it that way. But I always recommend ask the pharmacy, but to be absolutely sure you're not breaking the law, call an attorney such as myself or attorney Mike Nichols, who's coming on the show. Also, Denise Porlicella is coming on the show.
Oh, yeah. Big show. The return of Mike Nichols.
I mentioned a lot of judges last week. I'd like to get Judge Mary Beebe on the show. She's a great judge. I would like to also get Judge Van Alst from the district court judge. Her brother's also a judge out of Cadillac, Wexford County. And maybe out of Grayling, the Honorable Judge Beermeister. Get him to come on the show. And Judge McDonald. There's so many great Judge Carpenter. I can go on and on. So many great judges.
Let's not forget Judge Big Daddy Danny Bain.
Danny Bain's coming, but I want to give a big shout out. If anybody knows Judge Rick Volbach in Standish, Aranac County, I think it is, send my love to Judge Volbach. I went to law school with Rick Volbach, Judge Volbach, and he's one of the smartest individuals I know. We had a great time in law school. I'll never talk about it, but Judge Volbach and I spent literally every day together for 3 years.
You know a lot of judges, and a lot of people you went to law school became judges. You ever going to become a judge? You going to run for judge?
I'm retiring in 4 years, Craig. Oh. We're hitting the highway. Truthfully, we joke about traveling to Walmarts. We're heading to Banff. Okay, we're gonna move to Banff. I think.
Banff, Ontario, Canada.
I mean, I'll never leave this. I love the United States. I'll never ever leave the great United States of America. We love this country. We love the Constitution. Yeah, I want to go through the Yukon, Banff, up into Alaska, do some fishing. Right now, salmon fishing is really hopping.
Yeah,
love salmon. Well, my brother Jeff Arndt had a birthday last week. Happy birthday, Jeff.
We now know Todd L. Levitt's retirement plan, so yay.
I don't know. Listen, do we ever retire, Craig?
Never.
The show is on YouTube, by the way. We have a really sloppy attempt at putting up videos right now.
Which are going to get better.
The Todd L. Levitt Law Show. Subscribe on YouTube, right?
Yes, do that.
They're going to get a lot better.
Yes, they will.
We're trying to figure it out.
They will.
Gavin, by the way, Gavin's in the opening. Congratulations, Gavin Seibert on the opening. Yeah.
Gavin. And the lovely and talented Rachel M. Levitt is in the game.
Yeah, attorney at law.
That's right. Yeah. She is. So. Hey, we got to take a break on the time.
Come on, Craig.
We'll be back to wrap the show up next.
Welcome back to the Todd and Levitt Law Show, turning it and burning it in the Black Diamond Mothership in the middle of Midton in a beautiful green nutrient field with my good friend Craig Russell, the muscle, the hustle. He's Little John's favorite nug. Did you know that?
I did know that.
I haven't heard a Little John impression lately.
Well, there you just heard one now.
Yeah. Hey, Little John, we love you, Little John. Big shout out to my buddy John Zenneberg, who started his own asphalt business, Zenneberg Asphalt. So big shout out to John there in central northern Michigan. He is related to my good buddy Scott and Craig Zenneberg. Great family here in mid-Michigan. Chris Grandy's group, one more time, folks. Big shout out, big clap. Horizon Theory, coming out of mid-Michigan. So
great group, and and we were talking about them a little earlier, and you were talking about Metallica. How of course, Metallica is probably, if you're not favorite, if it's not your top band, it's either your top 5.
It is.
What's your favorite Metallica song?
Well, it goes week to week. I'm not going to name a favorite album. I like old Metallica music when they first came out, but I'm just destroying it, turning it and burning with my noggin to cyanide this week.
Oh, right on. Good.
I had to be in Cadillac District Court with the Honorable Judge Van Alst. She's such a great judge. I had to be in front of Judge McDonald this week, Judge Sarah Spencer Nagel. Big shout out to Judge Sarah Spencer Nagel. And in between driving around, I was listening to cyanide.
Sounds like it was a busy week for the Levitt Law Firm.
Yeah, I had to be in front of my buddy Peter Jaklovic. He's a great judge also. We grew up in the same neighborhood, kind of. Went to law school, same law school over there in Mecosta County. My buddy Duvall, great lawyer, John Lewis and Duvall, Dennis Duvall from Mecosta County over there.
As well. Big Sunday
big
plans?
shout-outs.
Big Sunday
What's
plans?
that?
You got big Sunday plans today? What do you do?
Oh, yeah. Well, yesterday, we just got done shredding with my guys, Chucky Martinez from Ohio, Jeremy Schaefer, Big here, Big Daddy Chad Smiley, Tommy Jagir. I don't know if I saw Tom. He may have. I don't know if he was there, but we rode the Triple Trail Challenge yesterday that took place in Pinckney, Michigan. Right. It went from Pinckney Potawatomi Trail all the way to the DT Energy Trail, Waterloo Rec and back, 50-plus miles. So I'm just resting my 58-year-old buttocks and bones and muscles today after shredding over 50 miles on my mountain bike yesterday, my Salsa carbon fiber bike there, Craigie Poo.
Watching the Lions at all?
Yeah, probably going to watch some football.
Yeah, some football.
How about you? What are you doing today?
I'm, you know what? It's day 5 of no more Aaron Rodgers in the NFL, so I'm happy about that. I'm going to be watching some football, too.
I mean, I'm sorry he got injured.
Yeah, but
a
nicer guy.
Nah, see, I can't say that because of the injury.
I know.
So.
I know. And it wasn't, it's interesting, he used to.
I don't want anybody to get injured.
No, he used to.
I had turf toe when I played football, and I only played junior high and high school. I had turf toe, and that was bad enough. I can't imagine it. What, he injured his Achilles tendon or something?
I'm sure his Achilles.
Have you ever had turf toe, Craig?
Never in my life.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe that as a defensive end and linebacker how important a big toe is. You cannot push off because it depends on what foot's forward, what's back, and if you're outside, inside linebacker, what side is a defensive end. I mean, Berkeley High Class A3, I had turf toe my senior year, and it was so painful. I couldn't push off to get to the quarterback.
And now all these high schools have those artificial turf fields, so it's even probably more prevalent these days.
I thought you were going to say all the high schools will provide an artificial toe if you have turf toe. Hey, Craig.
They're doing that.
Craig, what a great show. I'm so stoked to be back. Attorney Mike the Nick Nichols will be on the show next week, folks, of Nichols Law Firm, Attorney Wendy Nichols. And then the following week we have the top cannabis attorney in the country, if not the Midwest and the state of Michigan. One of them, if not the top, Denise Porlicella, will be on the show to update all the listeners about the cannabis laws, not only in the state of Michigan, but across the country and world. And big shout out to New Zealand, Craig. And all the downloads over the last couple of weeks, New Zealand is right behind the United States. So wow. Arizona and Texas is second and third after Michigan in downloads of our show of all shows. So we appreciate all the Kiwis down there.
Yes, appreciate it. Todd?
Yeah, did you see how I said Kiwis?
I did see how you said that.
Yeah, I love Australia, but don't tell someone from Australia they sound like they're from New Zealand and vice versa. Don't do it.
Much like you don't tell someone from Wisconsin they sound like they're from Michigan.
We all sound alike.
It's true. Todd, I hate to break the news to you. The show's over. We got to go.
Craig, I want you to be the best version of who you can be. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. Take us out with my good buddy Chris Grandy's group, together with Louie, Josh, and Jeff. Horizon Theory, Past Life. We'll see you next week.
The Todd L. Levitt Law Show, brought to you by Clark Modular Homes of Mount Pleasant, Rusty Gold Antiques in Everett, Chad Malley Well Drilling of Rosebush, Clear Vision Windows, Siding and Roofing of Midland, and attorney Todd L. Levitt.
Opinions expressed on this radio program do not necessarily reflect the views of this radio station.